All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm your host, Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co host, Jake Ellenbogen, and we are coming to you to preview our second matchup of the year against the Seattle Seahawks in Los Angeles, coming off of the bye week. Jake, it's been a while. What happened is a few weeks ago, I got COVID and I could not record. I did not have a voice. So we canceled that week of shows. Then we had a bye week. So now we're back, and it feels like it's been too long. And of course, it wouldn't be a Downtown Rams episode if there wasn't a technical error, guys. If you notice that my voice sounds a little different, it's because we just spent half an hour trying to figure out why my Shure mic, is not working correctly. So I'm using my computer mic like a true professional. Not sure what's going on. I guess I just didn't use it for 2 weeks and it decided to break down and is dead. I'm gonna have to get a new one. So yeah, starting off on that note, Jake, my microphone lifeless, kind of like us against the Packers a couple weeks ago, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about playing Seattle, which is a team that we beat week 1 of the season in Seattle. So, Jake, while you are giving us a little your thoughts on that matchup, I'm going to have a little caramel, because one thing about me is that I am like an 80-year-old woman in most ways. And I realized that I had these Werther's Originals.
Oh my
And I
God.
really, really want one.
Yeah, you got the ASMR thing going on because, without
they
the
can't without the Shure mic, but hold on, I'm gonna hold it. Can you hear this good if I put it up to this mic?
Oh, you can hear it if you just hold it wherever you were just holding it.
All right. So while I enjoy this Werther's Original, Jake, preview this matchup for us against Seattle.
Yeah. So yes, the Rams won the first matchup against Seattle. Big part of that was obviously Jamal Adams and the now star rookie cornerback, 5th overall, guy that you know very well, Devon Witherspoon, has played on another level. He's one of the best corners currently in the league, and he did not play in that game. Charles Cross and, of course, Abraham Lucas were injured in that game. I don't believe Lucas has come back since. He's still on IR. Stone Forsyth has been in there. I know they have Jason Peters, but no, Charles Cross has been back, and he's effective. They have Damian Lewis at left guard. They have Evan Brown and Phil Haynes, and really like their depth there. But they did lose those 2 tackles in the game. And I think that was when the Rams were really able to take over in the second half. Albeit, can't stress this enough, I have to say it, they did a nice job even when those 2 tackles were in. We saw, rookie Byron Young do such a stellar job. Speed to power rush just knocked Charles Cross on his ass. And, we saw some really good play out of them up front. Then Ahkello Witherspoon on, DK Metcalf. We know DK Metcalf with the push from behind, injuring Ahkello Witherspoon. We saw the offense kind of clicking on all cylinders. I mean, when you think about it, Seattle really just did not buy into Matthew Stafford in this game. Going into it, I don't think they really had a lot of confidence Stafford would be Stafford. And the reason I say that is because they sold out to stop the run. The Rams ran 40 times in that game. That's a Sean McVay rarity, if there ever was one. And Akers ran 22 times. Yeah, Cam Akers ran 22 times for 29 yards. Kyren Williams ran 15 times for 52 yards. Had 2 touchdowns. Akers had touchdown. Neither are going to play this Sunday, unfortunately. This is the last week Kyren Williams will be out. And of course, our thoughts and, hope goes out to Cam Akers, who unfortunately tore his Achilles tendon for the second time recently. I think that was over the bye week. So wishing him the best. But both running backs are not going to play in this one. One's not on the roster, and one we won't be seeing until next week. So that leaves, kind of a new look, obviously a look that we saw, before the bye. Darrell Henderson, Royce Freeman, and of course Zach Evans. Whether he plays a lot, I don't know. They moved on from Myles Gaskin, so it will be those three. And Alexis, I think a big thing about this one is that you saw the well, I don't know if you saw it, but you watch the presser of Sean McVay, and you instantly hear, "Hey, do you see?" This is kind of like a week one, like a clean slate refresh. And McVay didn't quite say that, but you can kind of see that's kind of how he's looking at it. I mean, it's a big opportunity here. 8 games left. You're 3-6. You'd like to be better, but that's where you're at. The playoffs are still alive. You have to win this game. And so, I'm looking at this game and thinking, one, I don't bet against Sean McVay week one of an NFL season. And two, I'm not going to bet against Sean McVay coming off a bye, coming off 2 weeks to prepare for a team that he knows very well, a rival team, a team he beat by 17 earlier in the year. And I think right now, I think the Rams are, a better team than they were week one. I know it sounds weird to say, but, Cooper Kupp's back, and I think they're now healthy. I think this is probably the healthiest they've been all season, which is surprising. They're getting Bobby Brown back, who was injured in the Eagles game. They might even have Hunter Long active in this one. So I guess he does actually exist, despite what I believed. So Alexis, looking at this game, you got a 3-6 team going against a 6-3 team. The 6-3 team could very well be 3-6, and the 3-6 team could very well be 6-3. That's the way football works. It comes down to 2 to 3 different plays in a game. And let's be honest here, Seattle's done a better job late in games of not letting those moments kill them and actually seizing those moments, as opposed to the Rams letting pretty much every moment like that late in games kill them, except for the Colts game. So that's where we're at right now. Matthew Stafford's healthy. They now have Carson Wentz behind him to back him up. So, great depth there. The running backs, they're going to have to run hard in this one. Seattle's one of the best, rushing defenses in the league, and they got better adding Leonard Williams at the trade deadline. But I think really, the key to this one, Alexis, is they got to get Tutu Atwell going again. He had 6 catches for 119 yards. He was a force, 19.8 yards per reception against the Seattle Seahawks week one. And it feels as though more and more and more Sean McVay's, gone away from that. So I'd like to see more diversity, in the receiving game, in the running game, and just the offense in general. I think it was really important for Sean McVay to take a step back and kind of reanalyze everything and go through and reevaluate. And hopefully he's done that, because there have been a lot of those games where I feel like they could have won and they should have won. But it was whether the play calling or just the decision making not to kick the field goal or to kick the field goal when you have a 4th and 1. I think he's had enough time to look over that, where I think, I'm feeling good about the Rams going into this one.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really interesting point about how the 6-3 team could be 3-6, and then the 3-6 team could be 6-3, because I believe that to be true as well. And you also touched on the difference, which is a big difference, and it is a criticism of the Rams, how teams close out games, right? I think you have a team in Seattle that when the pressure is on, they find a way to win. And it's almost like they get better when that pressure is applied to them, and then they find a way to get the W. The Rams have shown the opposite this season, and we've talked about that on the podcast, how it's like the pressure comes late in the game and they completely buckle and fold, where a team like Seattle does the opposite. But that doesn't necessarily speak talent-wise, right? You look at the talent on Seattle, you look at the talent on the Rams, it's pretty even. I'd say that they're pretty even teams, and, unfortunately for the Rams, they just haven't been able to get the wins that they've had at least 2 to 3 games that they've lost that they could have won. One of them being against San Francisco, second game. So it is, I think, really important for a lot of reasons to win this week, not just for the NFC West, but for the NFC, because as you and I both said, the NFC is bad. That's just the reality. It's wide open.
Bad.
If the Rams were in the AFC, I'd say we're done. Like we're toast. That's it. I mean, you look at what's going on in the AFC right now, it's just a completely different story. And, the Rams obviously have an uphill battle at 3-6, but it's not over. However, I think
No,
these
it's
next
not.
you lose this week, maybe my tune changes a little bit. I mean, I think you can't let Seattle, when you're already in a division with San Francisco, who's been playing well. Um, you can't lose a game like this. This is really a must-win game, even though it's middle of the season. I think the Rams need to win. So I would like to talk about our offense because going into this season, Jake, I think if anybody were to say that the quote unquote weakness of this Rams team was going to be the offense, a lot of people won't believe them. Because on paper, you look at our defense, we're young. We lost a lot of defensive guys. I think most people thought our defense was like a question mark. Like, what's this defense going to be? How are they going to play? But the defense has been the side keeping us in games. This offense has just really struggled to get it together. We've had some injuries. We've had, Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp was gone for a while. But Jake, I really feel like once we lost Kyron Williams and we got Cooper Kupp back, it was almost like the Rams offense overthought it and nothing really meshed well once that happened. I mean, it's ironic that once you get one of the best receivers in the league back in your offense in Cooper Kupp, your offense got worse. And I don't think that's
Yeah.
entirely because of the run game. I do think it did hurt us losing Kyron Williams because he was hot. We had momentum. Sean McVay was having fun using him. He was leading the teams. He's still leading the team in touchdowns for an individual player. So it's kind of like you lost him and Hendo's good. You put in Hendo and Freeman. It hasn't really brought the same spark. Then the game plan changes. Cooper Kupp comes back and he's been good. I mean, obviously he's been good. He's Cooper Kupp, but it's like the Rams haven't really found a way to get everything firing in all cylinders. It's almost like they have to pick one thing and run with it. Looking at Seattle, Jake, Matthew Stafford's going to be back. We don't know how he's going to look. I assume that he's going to be fully healthy. We'll see. He's had his ups and downs this season, but he did play really well against Seattle the first time. So he's going to be back. You got Cooper Kupp out there. You got everybody out there except for Kyron Williams, right? What is it that the Rams need to do offensively to beat this Seahawks team? Because in the first game, it was Kyron Williams. It was the run game. So do they go back to that? Or do you think now it's mid-season, Cooper Kupp's back? Do you think that they flip the script and Seattle secondary, which you mentioned earlier, it's pretty good. They got Devon Witherspoon.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing in this one is that yes, they don't have Kyron Williams. I think what people forget, except for Sean McVay, because he's brought it up multiple times, that Kyron was among the top backs in the league before he got hurt. And so, you kind of see it. And, I've had the realization as well as someone that has defended Darrell Henderson constantly. I think him and Royce have done a nice job. But those moments where you need a 30-yard run instead of a 13-yard run with what you're shown up front, the blocking and everything, it's not that Darrell can't do it or Royce can't do it, but it's like Kyron can, because the last time we saw him, he did that multiple times. So, I think they've really been looking for that spark, those big explosive runs, and we've only seen a 16. As at most, the longest run for Henderson's a 16-yard run. The longest run for Royce is a 15-yard run. And those, they're considered explosives, but they're not explosives. They're not 30, 40 yards. And that's the thing, is when you see Kyron Williams run against Arizona and the way he just, broke off tacklers and shoot them off and everything, to me, that's what that moment was all about, is that it's like, okay, this Kyron kid can be a top starter in the NFL at this position. And, I think that is what the Rams are missing. And would they miss it as much if their play calling was better? Would they miss it as much if they've gone away from Tutu Atwell? I don't know. I do have to say the thing that bothers me most is just their just negligence of Tutu Atwell, who leads the team in receiving touchdowns this year. He's got as many big plays as Cooper Kupp, and it's like they've really, even though Cooper Kupp has only played since week 5, it feels like he's gotten more opportunity than Tutu Atwell, and he hasn't. 32 targets for Atwell, 23 32 receptions for Atwell, 23 for Cup, 45 targets for Cup, and 54 for Atwell. But he's getting there. And, I just think the biggest thing watching this offense is that, okay, yes, the offensive line has not been great, but it hasn't been bad. It's been good enough. And when you're constantly running these long developing plays, and you're targeting deep down the field, or you need these things to work out, and you're focusing essentially on two players in Cup and Nakua. Offenses are going to, defenses rather, are going to be, figuring that stuff out pretty quickly. They'll catch on. That's really what's happened. I think the Rams have just had a lot of predictability. It's really easy to see what they're going to do. You know what they're going to do. The hope is that they come out and they're not as predictable. But we won't know until this Sunday. So, do the Rams have a chance to throw or run on the Seahawks this week? Absolutely. Are they going to do it? That's a different question. I think a big issue is going to have to be Tutu Atwell. I keep standing by it, watching the film and seeing how he's the clear out receiver. Well, that's great and all, but when he's wide open 40 yards down the field and you decide to take the underneath route where there's hardly any success, anything there's nothing to gain. You take the underneath 2-yard route and Nakua's getting drilled with a safety going downhill. Meanwhile, you got Atwell wide open, deep down the field, 40 yards. It's like, okay, well, where are the explosives? There you go. I mean, they're not. How many deep shots have they truly taken to a guy who runs a 4-3 and who's been the deep shot guy? How many, and that's the thing is like you have these long developing plays. Just because I said long developing plays doesn't mean they're going deep down the field every time. But also another thing, Alexis, is they haven't been using the running back slip screens enough. Darrell Henderson was the leading receiver not that long ago in the game, and I just think it's gotten to the point where they're just really predictable. They got to start using things like that. They got to give Stafford kind of a wake up call and be like, look, you're 35. You've had a numerous bunch of injuries. You got to take the check down, and we got to give you the check down for you to take. And I think you see it. Stafford doesn't want to do it because when he does it, look at the throws he makes. Like a lot of those Kyron Williams drops were bad throws from Stafford. Like he needs to reacclimate himself to throwing that ball in the short game because he's really struggled with that. But Alexis, they need that more than anything because, I mean, we saw, last week against Washington, this Seattle Seahawks team could not run the football the way they wanted to, right? They could not really truly get Kenneth Walker going. So what they do, they dumped it off to Walker. He had a huge 50+ yard touchdown. That really was a big reason why they won the game. So, if the run game's not there, the short passing game can really help you out. And I think that's something that the Rams will have to do. And I think they're going to be able to do it. I do.
Yeah, I just think they need to get more creative with this offense. I mean, we've touched on this before, but the play calling has been abysmal offensively. It's been stale. It's been drunk. It's been just, and not in the fun way. It's just been bad, like a bad trip. Let's call it that. And you bring up, the kind of the So I think if you can get anybody going other than, Tutu Atwell you brought up, right? I as well think they need to get Tutu back into this offense. You can't just keep targeting Cup and Nakua the whole game, which is I think what their game plan is now that Kyron's not there. Because when you had Kyron in, he was running the ball successfully, but he gives you that option. You could dump it off to him. He's good in, pass pro. He kind of gives a little creativity to that offense. You can diversify it a little bit. But in his absence, I mean, I just think McVay is overthinking it. I think that he needs to get more people involved. I think that Atwell should be utilized more, especially when you've got more attention on Cup and Nakua. But we'll see. I mean, Tyler Higbee is, do we want to talk about that? I mean, that's been a little bit of a bummer
I think
this
he's also
season.
really banged up,
I do
and I
too. And I
think
don't,
yeah, and
we did,
I think now it's starting to be like acknowledged by Sean because I think he knew that he was playing hurt, and now that like he's dropping these passes, I think McVay wanted to come to the table and be like, look, he's not healthy. Like he has the hand or finger or whatever, but he's got to play better. I mean, bottom line is he's got to play better. He was given a really big contract. And he's the all-time leading receiver in Rams history for tight ends, but yeah, he's really struggled and he's, dropped passes in some key and critical moments. So yeah, he's got to play better. I don't know if Hunter Long gets more
well,
opportunities or
that's
what, but
what
I think
I was
Bryson
about to
deserves
say.
opportunities, to be honest with you. I don't know why they don't use him more.
I was about to say, I feel like this year is almost a prove it year for Bryson Hopkins because he's been around now for a while, and the Rams have shown in the past like they didn't really use him until they had to, when people got hurt, and then they did throw him in, and he was okay. And I think give him that chance, like let
He
him
was
use
great in
the
the
rest
Super
of.
Bowl.
Yeah, so use them the rest of the season and see what you can do with Bryson Hopkins. Throw Davis Allen in there. Get fun with it. Like, let loose. We're playing a
Do
division
something
rival.
different.
Yeah, like just clearly what you've been doing hasn't been working. So let's like spice it up a little bit. Like throw in a guy like Davis Allen. Throw Ben Skoranek touchdown. Get it. Let's get another one. Just do something. It's very frustrating to watch this offense be so one-dimensional and be so boring, especially when
Yeah.
McVay, has made a name for himself as being a really good offensive play caller. So prove it. Show that you still got it, because if you keep doing what you're doing, your reputation not great at the moment. I mean, your offense looks really bad. So I think that the Rams need to go out there and
I couldn't blame
spice it
too
up a little
much
bit.
against the Packers because Rippon was just, oh man.
Well, the Packers, we're just going to pretend that that didn't happen.
Yeah, I
I
was just
I
gonna say, can we agree? Can we make a pact? The Packers game just doesn't exist.
I've already forgotten. Quite
Okay.
literally, when Jake and I were talking before the podcast, I was like, who did I say? I thought our last game was the Cowboys.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
just
I don't.
completely
What
don't
Packer game are you
acknowledge
talking about? I don't know.
who.
What is that?
I don't know who Brett Rippon is.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
that
Who is
man.
that? He's never
I
played a
don't
game for the Rams.
don't know and do not care. So we've moved on. And yeah, I just think that in this game against Seattle, I would like to see the run game try to run the ball a little bit, because again, I just feel like Stafford, when he was last playing his last couple of games, he was making some questionable decisions. And I think you got to ease him back into feeling confident again. You can't just go out there and have your play calling be, all right, sling the ball down the field, for the entire first half, and let's see how that goes. I would like that not to happen. Because historically this season, when the Rams have tried to force the passing game, it's not gone well. So get Hendo going, get Freeman going, get the short passing game going. Involve Tutu Atwell if you're going to do a bomb. Like if you're going to do it, get somebody
Yeah.
else involved.
And guess
Can't
what?
just
Guess
yeah.
what? This is crazy when you think about it. They have a 4'3", 5'9" receiver who goes down the field, and now no one's gonna buy that he's getting the ball.
You said that, and it took me a minute to. You said 4'3", and I'm in my mind going 4'3". I was like, you misspoke. No, you mean a 5'9" receiver that runs a 4'3".
Yes, yes.
Yes,
And
that
but my
is
point
makes
is
more
that
sense.
like anybody looks at him or a Tank Dell or anybody like that, Tavon Austin,
Yeah,
whatever, and they see him, and their first thought should be he's going deep down the field. Like they're gonna throw it. Since the Rams haven't done that in like weeks, you might be able to get away with one of those where like Seattle's like,
yeah.
man,
No,
I don't
you
trust it.
can.
Their tendencies, like they've been using this guy as a decoy. We're not even gonna bother it. And then all
Well,
of a sudden,
The Rams have put themselves in a position. weirdly to where it's like nobody knows what to expect.
It's true. Coming
Like
off
you
this bye,
can.
I have no
Yeah,
idea. The
like
defense
you
even, you know?
no, well, let's talk about that now because we've
Yeah,
gotten our point across, I think, offensively is like, shake it
that was
up for
why
the
I
love
said
of
the
God.
defense.
Yeah, just
Had to have that segue.
long story short, offense, just stop what you've been doing. Stop it.
Well,
Mix it up.
the
Let's
defense has
go.
also done so much. I mean, that
Well,
Packers
let's talk
game,
about
they
it.
kept them in there. Well, Alexis, I mean, I don't think people realize how important it is to have Ernest Jones. They did not
Yes.
have him in that Packers game, and they still look good. I don't think people realize how important it is to have Bobby Brown now back. I think that's going to be huge because now when Aaron Donald has to come off for a breather, or Jonah Williams or Kobe Turner, I mean, Bobby Brown is a starting caliber defensive lineman. So depth there is good, because Laryl Murchison is actually banged up and there's question as to whether or not he plays. So that helps by having him. I don't know if Deswan will suit up or not. But you look and there's been some changes. Darion Kendrick doesn't sound like he's the starter. Like it sounds like they're moving on from him in that starting capacity. He's going to move to being a backup, and they're really focused on Kobe Durant, who is dealing with kind of a shoulder right now. So we'll see if he goes. But Akello Witherspoon's the one thing that the Rams have that's kind of solidified that we know. Okay, Akello Witherspoon has now given Raheem Morris the freedom where he doesn't have to have a safety over the top. He doesn't need safety help. Okay. So because he doesn't need safety help, you can use that safety. You could blitz that safety. Because anytime you blitz a defensive player, that's one player that can't go and cover, right? So that's been a crucial thing with the Rams defense. We've seen more pressure coming from the blitzing. Why do we need to see that? Because they're not getting enough pressure up front. Aaron Donald's trying to do his best. You got those guys, Kobe Turner, and of course, Byron Young's having a really good year. But Hoyt's had his moments, but aside from that, I mean, they're not getting consistent pressure. They're definitely not like previous Rams defensive lines have gotten consistent pressure. So it is harder for the secondary. It takes longer for them to have to cover deep down the field. And since Akello has done that at a high clip, it's given the Rams more freedom to correct this, if you will, by using some of those safeties and corners and blitzing them. And we've seen Russ East, we've seen Jordan Fuller, we've seen Kobe Durant. So we've seen different guys, Duke Shelley, Trey Tomlinson. One thing I look at is the McVay show right before the bye. Going into the bye, and he talks about Quentin Lake, our guy, friend of the show. Quentin Lake has really come on strong. And what I think a lot of people forget is he wasn't just a sixth rounder. Like they were very high on Lake, very complimentary of what he can do. This is also the same organization that has rolled for 4 years with a starting safety from the sixth round in Jordan Fuller. So not out of the realm of possibility for him to get an opportunity. Well, last year he starts off the year on IR. It's a down year for him to get started. He's not really able to compete. And then towards the end of the season, he gets to play a little bit. Should have had an interception, all that. Well, this year it seems like they weren't using him enough. But Andrew Siciliano told me on another show, look, this guy, he's been the best in Rams camp. He's really turning on. He's coming on strong. And then, you see it. And then during the Sean McVay show, he said, we're going to see a lot more Quentin Lake in the second half of the season. And that excites me because whether Quentin Lake is starting at safety or he's playing in that dime backer or star role, I think makes him maybe the most important defensive player on the team. Because moving forward, he's going to have to wear multiple hats, and he's going to have to be the guy that can help in run support, the guy that can help in coverage, the guy that's going to make those short tackles. He's going to be over the middle a lot. So, teams are going to test him, but I think he's played extremely well in the recent weeks. And I'm excited to see his continued development because I think he has a chance to be a really, really good football player.
I do too, and I think we felt that since we interviewed him all
Yeah.
those years ago. Um, as an NFL draft prospect. But yeah, I think, looking at this Seattle offense and our defense, I mean, they've got guys like DK Metcalf, obviously very good receiver. Kenneth Walker has been a really good running back for them. Uh, Tyler Lockett, obviously you can't discount rookie JSN, can't discount. Who do you think is going to be on DK Metcalf? Because it should be, in my opinion, it should be Witherspoon always. Like
It'll be
that.
Witherspoon. But when they get into those different structures, then you'll see a Michael Hoyt. You'll see Quentin
That was
Lake.
what I was
Um,
wanting. I do not prefer Michael Hoyt on DK
I don't
Metcalf
think anybody
ever.
prefers a 300,
I
6'4", outside linebacker on a
I
elite
just want
receiver athleticism and everything. But look, I think it'll be Witherspoon. I think for the most part he will probably shadow DK. Can play on both sides of the field. We saw it against the Steelers how they moved him to the other side of the field, playing left corner, in particular, going over to right corner. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, wherever they put DK, I wouldn't be surprised if they just let him, shadow. And the thing is, Kello can go up against anybody. I mean, he could take anybody. He did a really nice job against T. Higgins. He's done a really nice job, against really anybody he's gone up against. He's made a few, missteps and whatnot. But at the same time, it's not a bad football play. It's just a better play by the receiver. And you're going to lose those because corners, it's kind of like baseball, right? When you can go 1 for 4, but if you knock in the winning run, people are going to be really excited for you, right? Well, with corners, it's like you could have 2 interceptions. You could have a great game. As soon as you give up that one catch, it's the opposite of how people act with baseball. You knock in that game winning run in baseball. It doesn't matter that you struck out 3 straight times. But in football, as a corner, you can be a shutdown guy the whole game. But if you give up the game winning touchdown, man, you're the reason they lost. And that's the thing with Kello is that he's been so consistent. One of the best corners in the league this year, playing from the trail. He knows his speed, 4.3, 4.4, whatever. And that definitely shows. But then he's also, 6'4". He's got crazy long arms, and it allows him to play and stay in those guys' hip pockets. So when they're going deep down the field and he doesn't have safety help, he knows he's playing from the trail. And if this is an underthrown ball, he knows that, hey, I can go up and I can pluck this ball. And now it's a turnover. But if it's not, and it's overthrown, I have him done. And if it's thrown on time, my arms are long enough to disrupt the play. And it's not always going to work, but it's going to work for the most part. He also has great sideline awareness, and he's able to really kind of show for the wide receiver out of bounds. So he's done an excellent job this year, and I think really the hope is that there'll be some consistency on the other side, and I think that's what the Rams are really trying to look for. Coming out of this bye is who is that guy that steps up? Does Darion Kendrick get another opportunity? Is it Trey Tomlinson, who Sean McVay was asked in the Coach McVay show if we'd seen more of? And I mean, he said that he's done a really nice job as well. So I don't know. I think just, against DK Metcalf, I think it's going to be Witherspoon. And I think Lockett's probably going to see Cody Durant if he plays. And if he doesn't play, then he could see Trey Tomlinson. I have a weird feeling they're really going to start to try to integrate Trey Tomlinson in the defense. I think they're going to go back. They watch the tape throughout the bye and everything. I think we're going to start to see more of the younger players. And it's not them, waving the white flag like some people would think. I just think this is the point where you're 3-6 and whatever you're doing simply hasn't resulted in winning more games than losing more games. And so I think that's when you start to see some of those guys. You might to see more Davis Allen. You mentioned that. You might get to see more Trey Tomlinson. Who knows, when Jason Taylor II comes back, maybe he gets a run on the defensive side. This is your opportunity to do all that. We might see more Desjuan Johnson than we've seen all season on the defensive line. It's fascinating, and it goes back to your point. Like, we're not really sure how this week is going to go, but coming out of the bye, like pretty much everything is kind of up in the air, except number 9 is going to be at quarterback. 99 is going to be your defensive lineman, and Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Tutu Atwell are your receivers. I mean, anything else after that, the offensive line will probably stay the same, but who's to say, with the way things have gone, that it won't. With the defense, I mean, Akello, number 44, is going to be out there, but I don't know if anybody has a full, out of the players that I listed outside of that. I don't know if anyone has a stranglehold on anything. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we came out of the bye and all of a sudden they're like, Zach Evans, you're our guy. I really wouldn't, because you want to create that spark, like you were saying. And that's why I think, going back to it, Trey Tomlinson, look out for number 6. He might play more than maybe you and I think.
Yeah, I think back to your point about Akello, I mean, severely underrated this season. I haven't seen as many people giving him the credit I think that he deserves as that veteran presence in the Rams secondary. Pretty much the only one, if we're being honest. I mean, you have John Johnson. He hasn't been out there as much. He came back once the season started, but really Witherspoon has kind of been the anchor out of all these guys holding it down in the secondary. And yeah, I like to give him credit where it's due, because I feel like enough people don't do it. And he's kind of like the silent hero of the season.
It's
Trey
funny because
Tomlinson would
he's
love.
apparently the most silent dude ever. So that's just the
Well,
way
then
he
maybe it's
plays. He's
fitting.
not really
Yeah.
rah-rah. He's
Yeah.
the opposite of
He's,
the other Witherspoon on the team, who's in your face, and you know it because you watched him in Illinois. Like, the guy,
yeah.
they play a different style altogether, but they're both very successful. It's funny.
We went from Jalen Ramsey style to Witherspoon style.
I know, it's just
Rams shake up the personality. Yeah, I just think the Rams, listen, like we've been saying, you just got to switch it up a little bit, because what you're doing is not only not working for you, it's just bad product for viewing as well. Like, they just don't.
thank you.
You watch this Rams season so far, whether you're a Rams fan and you've been watching every game, or maybe you're not a Rams fan and people tune in, everybody's on the same page. Like, it's just gross. It's disgusting. And it was fun for a while. They had like that period in kind of in the beginning of the season. And I don't want to say it was because of Kyren Williams, because everyone will say I'm a homer. But like that period, we were winning games, guys. We were winning games and we were destroying teams on the ground. And I would like to see us try to do it again. I know Kyron's not back till after this game, hopefully. God forbid they change it and they're like, actually, he's not going to be ready till week 15 or whatever. But like,
By the way,
get
how can you
Henderson
be a
involved.
homer if they haven't won since Kyren Williams?
Well, exactly. People just, I
I mean,
sadly,
they went
people
2 and
just
2
don't.
without Cooper Kupp, and they're 0 and 3 without Kyren Williams. Do the math.
Well, I know. It's that's what I've been saying. I mean, ever since we lost Kyren Williams in this offense, it's just been, the energy is gone. And I think it was because he just offers. He doesn't just offer the run game. He helps, when he's in there. Again, kind of like we've said, teams don't really know what to make of him. He can catch, he can run, he can block, and for whatever reason, it was like he was the safety net for the Rams. I mean, he
Yeah.
quite literally was. I mean, he was scoring all the touchdowns. I mean, he still is leading the team in touchdowns. And then they lost him, and now I think they're like panicking, and they're like they don't know what to do. And nothing against Hendo and Royce Freeman, but like it's not the same. I mean, they don't. You see what Kyren has been doing and it did, and it's not been able to be replicated remotely close. And I think that, they got to make it one more week. You got to make it one more week. And so why not in a team that you've already beat? Granted we beat them with Kyren. I mean, he scored the touchdowns, 2 touchdowns when we beat them, and Cam Akers, but you can do it again, and you can get guys involved, and you can have Henderson run in for a touchdown. You can have Royce Freeman run in, beat them on the ground again. I don't know, but just spice it up. I mean, everything that they've done since Kyren has been gone, it has been horrible to watch. It's been excruciating. Quite literally, I'm having memory deficiencies with the Packers game. Blocked it out.
Hey, the
Just
last 2 games, and this is important for anybody that wants any sort of optimism going into this one. They've been without Rob Havenstein, and I think, you learn more in your
yeah.
losses than you do in your wins. I can tell you what I learned. Rob Havenstein is a really damn good football player, and they missed the hell out of him those last 2 games. I mean, no knock against Joe Noteboom. Like, he did his job for the most part, but Havenstein just does extra. Like, he does more. And I think that's the thing, is that, often we as fans, maybe not you and I, but people call these guys trash, right? The backup is trash because he plays the job. Like, he does his job. It's just not it's one thing to do your job. That makes you, average, right? If you're just doing the job that's intended, you're average. If you go a little bit above and beyond, that's how you become good. And then you go way above and beyond, and that's how you become great, right? And so Rob Havenstein does it all at right tackle. And he is athletically limited, which is why he's a right tackle and not a left tackle, because he struggles against those speed rushers. But he's so rock solid for the most part, considering that. And I think just not having him just absolutely buried the run game. You're not able to run to the right the way you were, against the Colts and the Cardinals. And I think, it's been kind of a waste the last 3 weeks of Kevin Dotson too, because Dotson's been the best guard in football according to PFF. And I think the tape kind of, would support that as well. But, I agree on the current thing. I just definitely want to throw out there, not having Havenstein the last 2 weeks, we really learned how important Havenstein is. And I mean, I don't want to go off on a tangent here, Alexis, but I can't stress enough, for anybody that wants a quarterback in the first round, but wants to compete in 2024 for a Super Bowl, you got to understand something. On the right side, if you think Havenstein was a big loss, now you're starting to see at left tackle. I like Alaric, but there are things that they're asking him to do where he's just not athletically gifted enough to do them. And to run their offense the way they want to, they need a true bona fide bookend left tackle. They don't have it. They haven't had since with Andrew Whitworth. They're 8-18 without him. I think it's never been more apparent for me. This team couldn't win a Super Bowl even if they got off to a good run, because they don't have that left tackle. I think left tackle is so important. I think having those two tackles are important. We saw it with Seattle. I think they're the first team, one of the first teams, if not the first team, to start two rookie left tackle, right tackle combination, to start two rookie tackles in a playoff game. I think Abraham Lucas was huge for them, and so was Charles Cross last year. But I think more and more what this season has taught me, without all the injuries and stuff, because injuries are a part of the game, the Rams are relatively healthy considering where they could be. What this season has taught me more than anything is that left tackle, doesn't matter if it's you have an average one or a solid one, you need a legit franchise one. You need to have an all-pro, high upside, high level guy. You need to have that guy if you want to win football games in the NFL. It's that simple. And the Rams don't have that, so they have to kind of figure out different ways to win. Hurts the margin for error. And I think that's what we saw. And then when you have Havenstein out on top of that, makes it a lot tougher.
Well, next year, got some good first round left tackles.
Yes, we do. Fuaga, Alt, Fashanu. I mean, I like Latham, but I don't think Latham can play left tackle, in my opinion. I think he'd be a really good right tackle, but you got Rob Havenstein. So,
yeah. Well, let's get into predictions for this week. Let's get into, I'll let you go first.
Mm-hmm.
What do you predict, Jake, against Seattle?
I think the Rams are going to win. I do. I think.
Well, I was going to say stat-wise.
Stat-wise. Okay. Well,
spoiler.
I mean, the cat was out of the bag pretty early on. I think people saw where I was going. Mm-hmm. But no, I think in this one, it's hard to predict because I know what they should do. I don't know if they will do it. But let's go for it. Let's just do it. I got it right the last time when they played the Seahawks. I'll get it right this time, hopefully. Tutu Atwell goes over 100 yards. Okay. I think that is a big thing that I want to see them coming out of the bye, using Tutu Atwell deep down the field, using him in the short and intermediate game, just using him more. I mean, the last 4 weeks, he has 9 targets. I mean, come on. You got to get this guy more involved, because then it's going to get everyone else, more involved. And by virtue, you're going to have more plays on the field, by converting those first downs. Now you can target Atwell, you can target Puka, you can target Cooper Kupp, you can target Tutu Atwell, you can target Tyler Higbee, excuse me. You can target whoever the hell you want if you're staying on the field. But you can't have these drives stalling. You can't have, and I understand penalties have beat them over the head too. I'm not saying that hasn't happened, but you can still overcome them. And we've seen the better teams in the league this past Sunday multiple games. I don't know how much you watch. Alexis, I watched a lot of football. A lot of 1st and 15s, 1st and 20s. And it's not like this team's given up on the first play of the drive. They're not like, oh, you're going to hand it off here, out of the shotgun and just tell everyone what I'm doing. No. A lot of these, better teams like the Niners and, teams like that, like Eagles and so forth. These teams, and the Eagles didn't play last week, so that destroys my point. Anyway, the really good teams, okay, don't look at 1st and 20 or 1st and 15 as like the end of the drive. And I think the Rams too often will kind of throw in the towel, and then they'll throw those annoying bubble screens, which, by the way, if they blocked them, great. And so I was thinking about that. I'm watching the 49ers and Jags game, and, I'm watching it with my fam, and, we see, I think it was Deebo Samuel. He gets a bubble screen, and he goes for like 40 yards. I almost gets a touchdown. And I forget who said it, but someone was like, oh, man, why does it always work for them? Why are they so lucky? And then I thought to myself, well, they're not lucky. It's just well coached. It's just well executed. They ran the wide receiver bubble screen with a screen. You have to have blocking to have a screen. You can't run a screen without blocking, right? So that's been a big issue with the Rams, is that they'll throw a screen pass to a receiver with like one blocker. And if he misses, dude's dead to rights. So anyway, going back to that, Tutu Atwell, 100 yards, I'll say. I'm going to say Darrell Henderson finds the end zone. I feel like that's just kind of a reliable one that I'm going to go with. Like, when in doubt, Hendo, like, the flex tape meme. And then I'll say on the defensive side, man, DK Metcalf is one of the biggest babies in the league. Okay. He literally wears a pacifier. Okay. Like, I mean, come on. So last time they went up against the Seahawks, Metcalf, and he always finds a way, like in the playoffs, how he got upset and yelled at them for not targeting him. And then he forced a pick six, the end of the game, basically, for them. That was funny. DK Metcalf, what really bothers me, I haven't gotten over week one, and I'm sure Akello hasn't, is he shoved Akello from behind, non-football play. Whistle was already blown. He ends up getting hurt. To me, that has no business in the NFL. He should have been suspended. He was not. He was only fined. Akello didn't forget about that. There's gonna be some hell to pay. I think Akello is gonna do a nice job of shutting him down. I think he gets an interception, and we see a harder hit than Akello Witherspoon normally delivers. Not saying he's not capable of it, but we're gonna see a bigger hit on Metcalf than normally he would kind of deliver. I think. He definitely didn't forget about it. I'll just say that. I'm not going to try to spoil anything, but he didn't forget about what Metcalf did.
Well, those are all really good predictions on your part. I could easily see all of those happening. My first one involves Henderson as well. I think Henderson's going to get 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
Because I do think this run game, I do think the key to this game can be repeating kind of the run game that we did week one. Just we'll see. I mean, we'll see. But I think that we're going to have Darrell Henderson 2 touchdowns. Then I think we're going to, well, one of them I was going to say Witherspoon interception, but now I want to change it because you're
like, damn it.
You did that.
Well, you could just put 2.
Well, 2. Let's say I'll change. I'll pick a different defensive one. You know what? I think we're going to see a corner other than Witherspoon get an interception. Then maybe we see like a Jacoby Durant interception. Could you imagine?
Ooh, what if we saw Quentin Lake? He dropped one last year.
Yeah, I'm going to say Quentin Lake. That's going to be mine.
Good.
I'm going to say Quentin Lake. And then my third one is a fun one. I think we're going to see a blocked punt in this game from the Rams. No, I do. I think we are.
Be on the other side. You just jinxed us.
Do you think? Okay.
It's going to be Devin Witherspoon. I can already see it.
Okay, fine. We're going to see a blocked punt in this game. I think I was hoping it was going to be the Rams, but we're going to see a blocked punt.
No, it's funny. I just actually was going back and I saw that YouTube Shorts will sometimes show you old shorts from like different people. Well, they show me mine sometimes. And I did one after, I said, I think there's going to be a block punt. I have no idea why I'm doing this. I never predict it. And then the Rams, Michael Hoyt blocked a punt. And then I think we did one earlier. It was week 1, right? And then they blocked our the
Was
field
it?
goal. Did Seattle block a field goal or was it like an extra point or something? I
You
think
mean
they
blocked
did.
us? I don't remember. They might have.
Yeah. I mean, that's hard to
We got a
remember.
whole
That
new
game was a
kicker
while
now.
ago. Yeah.
We got a whole new kicker. So,
Yeah, that
not
was
that it's
so
really ever
week
the kicker's
1.
fault, but yeah, that was so. God, I
That
feel
was
like we've
so
had 5
September.
different. We've had like 5 different Rams teams. It feels like since week 1, we've just been
I know.
up and
Why does it
down.
feel like it was so far away? I mean, week 1 was only 2 months ago. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. It feels like it's been a while, but yeah, anyway. Oh, we didn't do any
Let's.
sacks. Do you wanna predict any
Oh.
sacks or do we really think that they're
Well,
just not gonna be able to get to Geno?
I was gonna say Byron Young. I was a little hesitant though to predict sacks because like I do kind of like the Seattle offensive line. I mean, I'm not saying that they're like amazing, but like I'm not down on them. I'm not gonna pretend like, oh yeah, they suck. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, sure. Let's say Byron Young sack. Let's say Michael Hoyt sack. I want to see Michael Hoyt getting sacks and not defending DK Metcalf. Let's say that. I want to see him where he belongs, getting sacks and rushing the quarterback. I don't want to see him running in coverage against DK Metcalf.
Why not?
God, because that just is not a good sign.
Has Dallas
That's
Goedert ever had a game like the one he had when they threw poor Michael Hoyt on him? Like, that was
I wasn't even
ridiculous.
ashamed to share all my Dallas Goedert props that week. Do you remember
Oh my god. He had like 100
their
something yards,
anytime
2
touchdown?
touchdowns.
Yeah, because the Rams don't understand how to cover tight ends. They just can't. They don't
I
have anybody.
I do think they've gotten better with that. I think the Steelers
They
game,
Well, and they also, lucky for us this week, I don't think Noah Fant's gonna tear up the Rams, knock on wood.
I mean,
I would be surprised if Noah
our old
Fant
buddy
puts up
Colby
a.
Parkinson might.
Yeah, but he's not even really. I don't think he's playing much. They have
Yeah, he's
Fant
been
and then
playing. They've
Disley.
had him in the red zone.
Oh,
Also, hate to be the bearer of bad news. Doesn't it just feel obvious Jake Bobo is just going to catch a touchdown in the red zone? Like,
probably.
it's pretty obvious because all these Rams fans that are like UCLA fans were like draft Jake Bobo, and I was like, this guy ran a 4.9, and normally I don't care, whatever draft guy. He ran a 4.9,
They
but he always finds a way to get open.
Well, I want them to use like what's so weird about this is like D. Eskridge. What happened to him? They
Oh,
took
he
him in the
doesn't
second
exist.
round. Yeah, like and I'm not
He
saying
just does not exist. File not
maybe
found.
he's well, literally. I mean, he must have just had a really bad camp because I
He
mean, they took
has
him and then they just were like, nope, JSN. We're just gonna not ever use D. Eskridge. And I kind of liked him.
All right. Yeah, I did too. I loved him. But here are the receiving. So here are the receptions for the Seattle Seahawks this year. Okay. D. Eskridge only has 1 carry for -5 yards. Receiving wise,
Cool.
Met, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jonah Fant, Noah Fant, Kenneth Walker, Jake Bobo, Colby Parkinson, Will Disley, Zach Charbonnet, DJ Dallas, Cody Thompson, and Geno Smith, the quarterback. That means D. Eskridge has 12 guys ahead of him, including the quarterback, to get a reception, and he does not have a reception.
We're missing something, and maybe he is just in camp, just been. I mean, I don't look into what's happening in Seattle's camp that often, but like,
I mean, they barely
or the other,
even use him. Like,
yeah, I don't
he's
know.
still
It's
on
just
the
weird.
team, but it's like, bro, they drafted him in 2021, and
In the second
I
round,
mean, he had the pick before Atwell. And then
yeah.
people made up rumors because you and I like hypothesized on live stream. We're like, I wonder if the Rams like panic drafted Tutu Atwell, like wanting D. Eskridge. And then honestly, after that, people were like, oh yeah. So I heard from this dude said that like
You
Sean
know
McVay,
what?
like, do you remember that? Like when all that stuff went around that like
Kind of, but I just realized, is D. Eskridge their kick returner? Because he actually might
no.
be. He's not? Okay.
He's returned 2 punts this year and 4 kickoffs.
Okay, but he has done a couple.
He's not
couple, because
like
I was just about to say, I kind
they
of feel
just
like
don't
our
use him though. Like, so in his career, he has 17 catches for 122 yards and a touchdown. That's it. Like rushing, he's got 7 carries for 64 yards. He only has 24 touches in his career, offensive touches.
yeah,
Returning
it's so
wise,
weird.
he's got 0 punt returns. Um, and then kickoffs, he's got, or sorry, no, he's got 0 punt returns. Kickoffs, he's got 13 for 288 yards, as long as being 29 yards. So I don't know. I mean, they grabbed him and he's 5'9", a buck 90. He's basically Tutu Atwell with 45 more pounds on him, and he is not anywhere near as good as Tutu Atwell. So I don't know. I thought Eskridge coming out of Western Michigan was going to be a stud. And I don't know I kind of do blame Seattle. I mean, the guy's only caught the ball 17 times. So Puka Nacua, what was his first game?
More
Puka
than
Nacua,
seems like
Puka Nacua in his first game was 3 yards away from tying D. Eskridge's career. I mean, just think
wild.
about that. Like that's
Yeah, I don't
insane.
know.
They drafted him in the second round. Like in 2021.
Well, yeah, that's weird. Well, let's get into the score.
Yeah.
You already revealed that you think the Rams are gonna win. I think the Rams are gonna win as well, but I think it's gonna be 20-17. I do think it's gonna be close. I do think it's gonna be close. I do not expect the Rams to go in there and blow out Seattle. That's just not realistic. We got to give credit where credit's due. I mean, Seattle is 6-3 for a reason. They do the little things well. They've closed out games better than the Rams. But I think this week in LA, we beat them before. I think we can beat them again. And I think the Rams, like, this is really a must-win game. I mean, it really is. The momentum, you can't go to 3-7. You can't lose to a division rival right now. If you want a chance at all to maybe make that wild card, you've got to win.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just saw something that like surprised me. I don't know if you saw the face. That wasn't at you. I just noticed ESPN Analytics Matchup Predictor has the Rams 55.1 to 44.6.
So the
Don't
Rams
you
are
find that
favored.
weird? Yeah, they think that the Rams are like analytically favored. That's surprising to me.
A little bit surprising, yeah, because Seattle's. I mean, they have a much better record, and they. I don't know, but Stafford's coming back. I'm sure that they're taking that into account. I don't know
Yeah, it's just
what
weird.
exactly the
I don't know.
criteria is, but
I'm
yeah,
not
I do think that.
complaining.
Yeah, I think the Rams do win, and I think that when your back's against the wall, that's when it's time, and they got to get out there at home and get the. And I think they do. Jake, 20-17. What about you?
I got a fun one at SoFi. Hopefully there'll be a lot of Rams fans in attendance. There's no reason why Seattle fans should take over SoFi. So, back at home, right, coming off the bye, hopefully a home field advantage. Healthy as can be. I mean, you're about as healthy as you're going to be this point in the season, week 10, week 11. So I am going to have the Rams winning this game 31-28. The last time they scored 30 points was against Seattle. They have not done it at all this year, aside from on the road against Seattle. I think they do it again. Reason being, it's kind of a clean slate. I understand they're still 3-6, but at least mentally, it's a clean slate to come out of a bye like that. You can try some different things out. This is kind of like, if you think about it, you have like your world tours and whatnot, and how, bands will often change up their set list when they get to like a certain, first or second leg in the tour. This is where the Rams can kind of change up their set list. They can change their personnel. They can change, their sets. They can change their plays. They can change their play calling, their philosophy, and just add a little bit to it. And this is the first of that before you put this stuff back on tape. And so I think there's going to be opportunities here for the Rams to do that. They know Seattle very well. Seattle knows them very well. But keep in mind, normally these rivalry games are close, and the Rams have only played 3 NFC West games and they are 2-1 in those games, and they have blown out the two teams that they've beaten. And the one that they lost to, the 49ers, who a lot of people would say, is the Super Bowl favorite right now, they lost by 7 points to. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, I'm going to take 31-28, Alexis. I think, when you look at this, this is a huge opportunity for them to stay in the race, but also gain some momentum. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games. They need this win. I think they get it done at SoFi.
I do too. I do too, guys. So that's where we're leaving it. Jake and I predict a Rams win this Sunday at SoFi against division rival Seattle Seahawks. And I hope we're right. I think we are. So we'll see. We'll definitely be talking with everybody, on Twitter or X or whatever you call it, leading up to the game, during the game, after the game. But until then, guys, as always, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at the Alexis Kraft. You can follow Jake at JK Bogan. We'll be back recapping this game later this week. But until then, as always, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.